Thank you for joining me. If you would like to break the ice a little bit as we start by playing a very peaceful game of Connect 4. So the way that I've been deciding who goes first is by flipping the CyberBay coin.
Okay.
Do you have a preference of which?
I'll go tails.
Tails? Okay, do you want to do the flipping?
You want to
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
All right, tails!
Nice.
So you get to go first.
Okay, so we'll get started.
Okay.
Welcome to the CyberBay Podcast. I'm Sarina Gandy, producer and host of today's episode featuring Collin Ellis, the Manager of Solutions Engineering at ThreatLocker. What you just heard was the beginning of our interview recorded live at the 2025 CyberBay Summit. And you also heard the worst coin flip in history done by yours truly. With an audience watching, an empty game of Connect 4 in front of us, and ThreatLocker sponsoring the recording space, the energy of the day was very high. From the moment that we sat down, Collin and I clicked, and I knew that we were in for a great conversation.
My very first question for you, I think, is a very important one. Are you a competitive person when it comes to games?
To games, yes, I am. Fun fact, I actually just built another PC on Monday.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm diving into the competitive side of things even more.
How does the competitive side come out in that hobby?
Should I share this? No, I'm joking. So with anything I do, really, I like to be the best I can be.
Okay.
And normally that kind of means trying to be better than everyone else.
Mhm.
So with games, especially the one game in particular, FIFA, I am a big soccer, football fan. So yes, I play that very competitively. Across
You
the
know
board.
what? We have to have our outlets, okay? We
Mhm.
gotta have our outlets where we can just be competitive, you know,
Right.
wanna beat everybody. I get it, I really do.
No, that competition is good, especially when it's good
Yes.
internal competition. Makes
Yes.
everyone better.
And I can relate to what you said, honestly, about you know, you just want to be, I feel like for me, it's like I want to be my best self. And sometimes
Mhm.
that can, you know, lead to me comparing my best self to other people's
In the
best
same way.
selves. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was going to ask if that's something that you can relate to. Have you found a way to combat that a little bit, like throughout your
Yeah,
career?
and I think it's what's resonated with me the most over the years has been it's not that I need to be better than anyone else, but I'm getting good examples of how I can improve all the time and just taking those in stride and applying it little by little.
Mhm.
So that's been the way I've kind of dealt with it for the most part, especially with like my CEO, Danny.
Yeah.
He's such a good example. He is so technical and so gifted technically.
Yeah.
If I want to be better than him, that it's going to take a lot.
Mhm.
But it gives me a ceiling that I can look up to and just keep working towards, which is always really good to have.
I love that. I think I have
To start
play
off,
myself
I asked him to
sometimes.
tell me a little bit about his connection to Tampa Bay. What I didn't expect was how quickly that conversation would deepen into one that revealed some very unexpected threads between us.
So I am actually from Jamaica. I moved to the States in 2007, naturalized in 2017, but I've been in Tampa since 2010.
Wow.
So I went, well, I call this Tampa, and this may be a little bit off cuff, but I've always been so confused since I've moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Tampa is the city, Brandon is the town,
Yeah.
not the city, and I went to Bloomingdale High School.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I went to Bloomingdale High School.
Really?
What year did you graduate?
So I graduated in 2012.
Oh
22.
wow, that is the year I started
Yeah.
there. So you were a senior when I
Mhm.
came in as a freshman. That is very bizarre to me. What a small world.
Small world, just like that.
I know the area very well then.
First thought
Yeah.
was, why didn't my family move to Tampa instead of New York? Because it's much, much more like home back in Jamaica. But no, moving it down, it really made me realize that I like the slower pace of Florida, Tampa at the time compared to New York. Had to realize I needed a vehicle immediately, like day one. You need to drive everywhere out here. And no, that was it. Beautiful, a lot of green. And just as an aside, from 2010 up until even this year, just the way Brandon, Tampa has developed, I've watched State Road 60 just blossom. It's actually crazy. It was nothing but green when I first moved in.
My dad loves to tell me that when they first moved here, when I was like 1 year old, there were still, cow pastures and everything on
everywhere.
Bloomingdale, and now it's like bittersweet. I think it's very cool to see like the region, our home, like
Developing,
growing
right.
and developing, but there's a little part of me too that like holds on a little bit to that.
Collin's Tampa story didn't start in tech. It started in the neighborhoods and communities that helped shape the foundation of who he would eventually become. For someone like me, who grew up here, hearing Collin describe the same streets, same high school, and the same small corners of this city that I've watched evolve, it hit very close to home. And it really was an example of the power of the CyberBay movement that's been unfolding in Tampa Bay for years.
Tell me how you got into the world of cybersecurity.
Yeah, I was chatting with one of the students at USF. So I went to USF as well, graduated in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, same year I got naturalized. And it's a funny story. This is around the time where a lot of the laws around how part-time employees could work and have to get benefits and so on. So it was such a weird month. Every job I had at the time was like, you're getting no more hours because if you work more than 30, you need to get health insurance. So I was in a pickle, and what I needed to do was find somewhere else because I was working, going to USF at the same time. So I was unemployable, and I found an internship for ConnectWise. No information on it. It just said ConnectWise internship. I was out of options at the time. I applied, and I got the interview like the following week.
Wow.
So my first introduction into this tech space in Tampa was at ConnectWise because of one of my favorite people in the world, Kerry Deanhart, one of my mentors that brought me in. And I got that start in actually, I should say 2015, right then and there. So I was still working at ConnectWise while going to school. They made life for me really simple, nice work-life balance. And yeah, that's where I got the start.
You started as an intern. How long did you stay there, and how did your role change over the years?
Yeah, so during that time, I started as an intern doing like lead development, lead entry. So legitimately cold leads, warm leads, sending them off to the right people, things like that. And then it developed into me getting an opportunity to it's such an interesting case because in my role as an intern, there was nothing really defined. So they gave me the opportunity to dive into just about anything I liked. So I got experience from working internal IT just for the fun of it, dealing with audio, AV, hardware issues, helping out the staff. And then that matured into, because I've always been technically inclined, to be fair, becoming a solution engineer. So I think if there's any skill that I have that's really good, that's the best skill out there, I have a nice ability to see software, understand it very quickly, and then implement it. So that did me really well.
At ConnectWise, Collin didn't just learn technical skills, he learned possibility. The culture there gave him the permission to explore, to try things, and to be curious. And that curiosity wasn't just tolerated, it was encouraged. Those early opportunities planted the seeds of something that shows up in his leadership today, the belief that people thrive when they're supported, trusted, and given room to grow.
I wouldn't be where I'm at now without it, not just from my title and so on, but the pure experience I got from the ConnectWise team. So one of the nice things about even this floor as I walked in, I like to say the ConnectWise alumni, all the people I worked with, some still working with ConnectWise, and it's just spread across all the other companies. But just to name one person in particular, Arnie Bellini, the old CEO. We have Adam Slutskin, who runs CyberFox. Adam specifically, along with Kerry Deanhart, those two shaped my experience at ConnectWise so well. So much sales experience that I got from them, to technical experience I got to build in, and they were really pivotal in that work-life school balance I had going on at the time. I think one of the biggest things that impacted, especially my belief in them, staying there, working for the company, it was at a time where I ended up having to take responsibility of my two younger brothers, right? So taking care of them, they're like 15 and 8 at the time, so covering, and they just made life so simple. so simple.
Yeah.
The schedule was perfect. I was still going to school at the time,
Wow.
so they helped out up until the rest of the family was able to make a difference. So that alone really set me on the trajectory that I needed.
That is incredible. It really is. And I think one of the things I'm really trying to do with this podcast and just in my life is I have a very people first approach. You know, I mean, what is the point of doing anything if we're not connecting with people and genuinely caring about them? And it can be really hard to find that, I think, in a professional sense.
And I say it all the time. I got really lucky, blessed is another way to think about it. Again, if I wasn't in that same position, if I didn't meet those two people directly, I wouldn't be here in this seat.
This is one part of Collin's story that stayed with me after our conversation ended. In that moment of difficulty, ConnectWise didn't just shape him as an engineer, they showed up for him as a human being. You can hear it in the way he talks about the people there. It wasn't just a workplace, it was stability and it was community. And that experience didn't just help him survive a difficult season, it helped him thrive through it, and it shaped the leader he is today, one who considers the humans behind the screens.
Looking back now, are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, definitely proud of it.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing that it taught me that I could do, yes, I can say I'm dedicated, but I can follow through with just about anything because of that experience.
That's beautiful.
One of the things that I was really happy about during my time there, I got to be in what I considered the golden era of ConnectWise. And I don't want to put it in a position where they're not a great company, because they still are, but Arnie Bellini and the things that he was doing for the staff, the things that you see him doing right now, yeah, it goes so far.
Even the best chapters eventually evolve, and as ConnectWise grew, so did Collin, and he found himself ready for something entirely new, something that would challenge him in a unique way.
And with that, company culture was changing a little bit, and I had an opportunity because of the relationships I built while I was there, and I got introduced to ThreatLocker. So the main reason for me actually moving over was the big change in role. I became a full-fledged SE in this regard, so leading sales cycles, leading implementations, and just taking that mantle on. And the fact that in 2015, ThreatLocker was still considered a startup in a lot of ways. I wanted that opportunity personally. I got some advice from one of my mentors, Will Lubriel at the time, also another ConnectWise engineer. And it's advice I would share with anyone. It's not going to be the perfect position for absolutely everyone out there, but if you can find a startup to work with, the fact that I had to wear multiple hats and kind of break out of my comfort zone did everything for me.
Okay, I could definitely see that. Like, I think something my dad's always taught me is, complacency can be killer. And you mentioned, of course, your relationships as well had a huge part in you moving to ThreatLocker. And it just sounds like they've been a huge part of your journey in general. I'm curious, how have your relationships that you've made professionally impacted you? And do you kind of try to carry that forward now that you're in the position to do so?
Yeah, and especially with the experience I've had, if I can single out people again that I know, I didn't engage with them, if they weren't willing to help out, assist in that way, maybe I might still be here, but the road leading up to it would have been a lot harder. So I have to pay that forward in every way I can. And from those relationships, it's such an important thing. A lot of times people will oversimplify it as you just going out, networking and so on. It's so much more than that. We're human beings on the other side of the job and taking that into consideration. So right now, I think if there's anyone, especially in a role or position similar to mine, what's made me successful, and I think ThreatLocker really successful as a software company, are the relationships we have with clients. I don't want it to sound cheesy in the sense, we're your partner, but the way we align ourselves, if the client is going through something, if my client that I've had for the past 4 years is dealing with an issue, it's my issue.
Yeah.
If it's affecting them at work, it's going to affect them at home, and it spirals. So the moment we can deliver any type of service that eliminates that, we're adding a little bit of value.
Wow. I think that is a very beautiful perspective to have, and it's so nice to know that a company with that mindset is here in the Tampa Bay region. It sounds like you It sounds like you have a lot of empathy. Does that play into your role a lot, do you think?
I think so, because especially because my role is split between a little bit of sales and a little bit of technical.
Yeah.
The first thought that comes to mind is, if I am engaging with someone new, am I bringing you value or just trying to sell something? So we really try and stay away from that. Yes, we have tons of modules, tons of tech that you can purchase, but does it make sense? Is it going to benefit your life? Make something easier, simpler? And if that isn't there, it doesn't mean we can't have a relationship, but I won't sell you something that doesn't benefit you at all. So leading with that has been really pivotal, especially for the MSPs in Tampa and the Florida area. It's not that they pick up on that, but if you've ever been in the role of an MSP, it's nonstop. It's fires left and right. And just having someone shoving software down your throat doesn't really help. We have to be able to solve issues, and that's the main thing. I will always look back at my professional development. If I wasn't seeing the right people, seeing the right engineers, managers at ConnectWise, I wouldn't be as refined as I was when I got to ThreatLocker. So without that, it would have been a long haul.
When Collin talks about relationships, it's not in the surface level, networking is important way that we often hear. He truly leads with empathy, with the genuine desire to make someone's job easier, their day lighter, or their stress smaller. And that mindset traces all the way back to the people who supported him when he needed it the most, and it's carried him through the moments that have reminded him why his work really matters.
For cybersecurity, a lot of times, because from our perspective, we're really preventative when it comes to security. So there's always this conversation with zero trust and are you getting all the value and return that you want? So from 2020, from the moment COVID graced us with its presence and we were all remote up until 2023, the amount of cyber attacks that went through were just through the roof, left and right. It was always happening. And the two moments that I always think back to, we had Exchange being compromised, the email system for most companies. And I got to see through our portal, through our logs, just everyone we service being 100% protected, just not affected by it at all. And that one was a real game changer for me because yes, we live and breathe the things that we do, but getting that validation in such a critical time is always immense. I could list a lot. There's like Zoom. In 2020, Zoom, everyone is using it. And the amount of tax against it, and we're able to kind of keep things reined in. And that's it. So getting the value back from all the security that we're implementing, the things that we're doing to be proactive. Exchange kind of really hits a bill for me, just that moment when that happened. And then the other one that I think about, this one a little bit more larger on the enterprise side, but SolarWinds Orion. That one was also another deciding factor for me to say, yeah, what we're doing is making such a big difference. If a company is compromised to that level, all their clients become affected. And we just saw the same thing. It just wasn't allowed as far as our clients are concerned.
Oh my goodness. I want to ask more questions on that, but I have a very basic level of knowledge of the SolarWinds. Can you kind of explain it to me a little bit?
Yeah, so malicious source code. So this isn't where, it's a little bit different in the sense that the attack isn't coming from something unknown or outside. It's a trusted piece of software, something trusted to run the business, run the company, manage it, that's targeted at the source of its code. So it's a backdoor. It's where someone can get in behind without anyone really knowing. And at that point, most organizations that had Orion potentially affected. So yeah, it's one of those things where when we position ThreatLocker, relevancy of it, a lot of times I like to say our job is to make sure if you're an admin, you're a security engineer, you don't have to worry about whether or not your vendors are developing securely or your end users are always doing the right thing. We just know what's supposed to happen, and that's all that's allowed to happen.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that to me. In your job, I guess, and outside of it, what does community mean to you?
Yeah, so within the job, it's one of the things where companies, especially when they're growing and growing even at the rate that we are, it becomes a little bit harder to have. So a lot of times people will kind of summarize it as like, hey, this is the company culture, this is what you expect. but the community side of it is different. And it goes back to it being more than just a role. There's still a human being on the other side of this role, and how their personal lives, the lives that they're connected to, may affect them and then affect their day-to-day. So the community side, in my respect, it has to be more than, oh, the product needs to do X, Y, and Z. How are the people behind the product living? How does their day-to-day impact how willingly they are to coming to work and kind of execute on those things? So it has to be more than just company culture and what goes on. A lot of that starts at home. A lot of it starts at school and outside. And I will be the first one to attest to it, because I went through those challenges myself. And then externally, from a community perspective, just looking at Tampa, one of the things that I've always appreciated about Tampa is the fact that it's such a small, it's little and big at the same time. So even like this, us going to Bloomingdale in the same way, the experiences that we have in Tampa are all very similar. So immediately, it doesn't have to be we're a community in the sense where we're seeing each other all the time, but the collective experience is so similar, so similar for everyone.
I really could not agree more, honestly, because things like this happen often. Actually, there's someone else that went to Bloomingdale.
Just like that, right?
Or that I've seen, and it's just, there is so much of this, like you said, just collective experience, you know, that those random small world connections that just happen here.
And they end up making such a difference. So
Hearing Collin talk about these moments, you can feel the weight of it. You can feel the pride, and you can feel exactly why he shows up the way he does. His work may be technical, but his mission is human. And to me, that's what CyberBay is all about. That mindset traces back to the leaders who shaped him early on, especially Arnie Bellini, and to the kind of leadership he still gravitates towards today.
It's something Arnie said a long time ago, his vision, and it's something I bought into the moment I started with the company. His goal was to have all roads lead to ConnectWise. Now, I don't think a lot of people really understood what he meant. Maybe I'm completely off the cuff as well, but what I've noticed is that everyone that's worked with the company and the influences that they've had, they've taken it everywhere else they've gone. So just on this floor alone, I'm looking out beyond the cameras, and I've worked with most of the people at the booths directly. So from a culture perspective, the culture that he was able to facilitate, the community that he was able to facilitate, I think when, in my breakdown of all roads lead to ConnectWise, it's that this is the culture that we fostered. You've taken that with you everywhere else. So the community, in a sense, continues to grow. I'm still really young at this point in time, working my way through. But now as I look back, that alone, the idea that every security company had to plug into ConnectWise in some way, shape, or form made a big difference. And like using ThreatLocker as an example now, 2 different platforms, different tools altogether, but similar perspective. We are at a place where we can link in with everyone and make sure that if it's not just for the pure benefit of ThreatLocker, the internal staff, the other companies get to develop and grow as a byproduct of it in the same way. I think a lot of it had to do with the work he did with his own 2 hands. So if I remember right, he has an MBA, he's really technical from the financial side, but was never scared to dive into the actual technical things. So for me, having him leave ConnectWise was such a pivotal thing for me personally, because I want to be behind a type of leader like that. And that's what drew me to Danny. So he was just doing his interview here a little bit before me, but they're very similar in that way where as much as Danny is the CEO, he is hands-on with everything that happens. And because he is, the relationship I have with him as an engineer is a very direct one. I'm one of the earlier engineers on the team, so it might be a little bit different, but he opens that floor to absolutely everybody. And Arnie, Danny, 2 peas in a pod when it comes to that. Very personable. Just because I'm a CEO, that doesn't mean you should be scared to speak with me or scared to share your ideas, those type of things. So he's always been really forward thinking for the company in that way, but also for the people at the same time.
I mean, and when you think about like the CyberBay vision, this vision that Tampa Bay is really going to turn into the next cyber tech hub of the world. How do you feel about that?
I 100% believe it, because this isn't something that started just now. When I first joined in on ConnectWise in 2013, 2014, around that time, Arnie had the same vision and bringing Silicon Valley here. And you see it just in the past 5 years alone, the amount of software companies that have popped up in Tampa speaks for itself. And that's why I also, if I could give anyone going through cyber or anyone going through ComSci any recommendations, now this isn't the end all be all, but definitely think about these startups. They offer so much value and experience, and not for nothing, but if you get into a company early, your relevancy will speak volumes, especially if you give it the type of effort required.
Hearing Collin talk about leadership, I realized how deeply his path has been shaped by the people he's chosen to follow. Arnie Bellini wasn't just a CEO he admired. He was someone who showed him what it looks like to build something with your own two hands and still make space for others to shape it alongside you. And now with Danny Jenkins at ThreatLocker, Collin has found that same spirit again. Leaders who are present, hands-on, and who make their teams feel seen. That's the kind of culture Collin has gravitated towards his whole career, and it's the kind he now embodies for the engineers who look to him.
So outside of like the world of cyber and technology and everything like that, what do you love about living in Tampa Bay?
I am an avid beachgoer. Anytime I can. Sundays I normally spend Clearwater. I've reined it back a little bit. I like to go to Siesta Keys a lot. So yes, the beach. And I don't think I'll ever move. The team wants me to move to Orlando, but it's not happening. Too far from the beach. 100% too far.
I think that is very fair. Anything you talk about with that much passion, I think is something that you need to keep nearby in your life, for sure.
It's Friday or even a Wednesday and we need to cool down. Well, the beach is 30 minutes away. It's right there.
And I think for me, my favorite beach season is coming, where it's like during the day it's going to be nice, it's going to be a little bit warm, but then maybe you have to put a sweater on, and maybe it's like a little bit chilly in the evening during the sunset.
On a random Saturday, it's 90 degrees. You're out there feeling fine. So
what a dream.
It's my favorite time.
I love that.
It makes sense to me that all of this is happening here for Collin, in Tampa Bay, a place he genuinely loves. Not just the beaches and the sunlight and the closeness to home, but the energy of a city that's becoming something bigger. For Collin, Tampa is not just where he works, and it's not where he lives. It's a place where he is building his life. It's where he's growing his own 3D printing business, Steezy Studios, on the side with his family. It's where he sees the next generation of cyber talent taking root, and it's where he wants to stay. Collin Ellis is a product of his community. From Jamaica to Bloomingdale to the ConnectWise hallways and to the ThreatLocker team he helps lead today. Collin is an incredible example of CyberBay's power, proof that the Tampa Bay cybersecurity community doesn't just create skilled professionals, it creates grounded, human-centered leaders, which is what we need to keep this movement going forward. His story is proof of what's possible when talent meets opportunity, and when leaders choose to stay rooted in empathy, curiosity, and genuine care for the people around them.
Collin, I mean, we've been talking a lot about connection. In your eyes, this is kind of vague, but what does connection mean in cybersecurity?
Oh, good question. I might have to think about that one a little bit, but the first thing that comes to mind, it's gonna go back to those relationships, right? I can make a connection with someone, and that's a one-time thing. I might not see this person again, and there's value in that. Not that there isn't. But if that connection fosters into a real relationship, it goes a long way. And this doesn't have to be a direct personal relationship. It can be a business one directly. But if there's something I know for a fact, coming from my experience, is that if for some reason I had to change course, go a different route, I have a lot of people I can rely on and go back to. Not even to say immediately, hey, can I work with you? But where do you see me best? And that's the piece that I think is valuable. They know me well enough to understand you might be a better fit for company A, site A, or this type of thing instead. And that goes a long way for me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the CyberBay Podcast. You can find us on social media at CyberBay Pod. And if you have ideas for guests who are making waves in CyberBay, shoot us a message because I would love to chat. I'm Sarina Gandy, and I'll see you next time.